Coach, your thoughts about the impact of doing what you did in the conference tournament last year and getting some NCAA experience under your belt?
Well, I think absolutely was a good confidence builder in that, there was quality teams that we played throughout the conference tournament and into the regional. I mean, you look at, Wright State had set a conference record for wins in a season. They had beat, a couple of top 10 teams during the course of the year, and we were able to beat them twice in the tournament. And then you've got Stanford, you've got Indiana, who was the number 4 national seed, and then Indiana State was had an RPI of 31 and a 2 seed in a pretty strong regional. And so how we played against those kind of opponents, I think, showed the guys that we did have a skill level that could match up with a lot of teams in the country. And of course, to win them, obviously that's a confidence boost in itself. So, I don't think that you can really totally measure what that maybe did for our program as far as springboarding us forward a little bit.
Stephen, what aspects are you a better team this year?
Well, I think well, one, the confidence all the way around. I think we're a better defensive team. And I say that in that we have more athletes who are like true outfielders. We had to have a little bit of a hodgepodge and piece some things together in the outfield a year ago. But we've got a really good core group of athletes. So I think we're going to be a little bit better defensive team, even though we were pretty good. And I think that's going to play over in the offensive side of things a little bit. We've got a little more power. Not that we'll be a big home running hitting team, but we'll have more power. And then there's probably more pitching depth that could be at the front end of a lot of teams in our conference for sure on their rotation. So, how we play together and those kind of things, it'll all come together, and we'll all see it as it happens. But I think there's those parts of our program have improved.
What's it mean to face Jacksonville State where you're coached?
It's kind of neat to go back. I mean, obviously I'll know a lot of people after 11 years there, but it's also there's only 4 or 5 kids that I either recruited or played for me when we were there. So it's as much as it's going back home, it's also kind of a new program. They don't know much about us. We don't know much about them as players. I think I know their head coach pretty well. So I got a kind of idea how he'll go about things. So I think it's a great matchup for us opening weekend because they lost a tremendous amount off a team that did win their conference tournament and go to a regional.
Have they played already?
The national starting date for the NCAA Division I is this Friday. Nobody plays outside of that.
Can you elaborate more on the pitching staff and your expectations for them?
We were able, I think, with how we recruited. One of the strengths last year was our bullpen. And with how we recruited and how we went about things, we think we have filled guys with probably some equal ability to serve those roles, which then has allowed us to move. Basically 2/3 of our bullpen is now in the starting rotation this year. Kevin Yerbenik was an all-conference second-team selection, or no, he was an all-freshman selection. But, opposing batting average, was around 200, 2.2 ERA, about a strikeout an inning. Jeremy Quinlan threw some really big games for us last year as a freshman. He's back. And then Josh North will go on the Sunday start. And he was a guy that was kind of a mainstay in that bullpen, and again, a guy that had about a strikeout per inning. So I think we should be able to be a little more, and not necessarily dominant stuff, but it should be better for us on the front end of games than maybe it was on a consistent basis from last year.
Was Quinlan more of a surprise coming out as a freshman?
Well, it was in that he was a developmental guy. And we tried to protect his innings. We didn't just jump out and throw him out against NC State when they were ranked 8th in the country. We tried to kind of bring him along because he had been, the quarterback for Brookfield High's football team, and then he was, the 3 guy on the basketball team and averaging 20-something points a game, and he just hadn't played a lot of baseball. So we tried to bring him along slowly. It's not so much a surprise in how his stuff has developed. Definitely a little bit of a surprise in how he's been able to compete and be, kind of a dominant guy, in the starting part of a rotation.
Steve, was recruiting easier this year?
Much easier. Yeah, I was just talking with Brent on the way up here. you know, you get that beep, you got an email. It was a kid that's a 2017 graduate from a school in Ohio. So it's already, you know, trickling over into the earlier grades. But we signed more guys early in the early signing period than we've done in the past, and I think a lot of that has to do with, you know, some of the success we had at the end of last year. And, you know, obviously the Youngstown State, from an educational standpoint, is fantastic. The facilities are fantastic, and now maybe we're starting to get a little perception that maybe we've added the competition side of things into that equation for these kids.
Does it help Northeast Ohio has a lot of talent around there?
I think so. You know, we hadn't had much luck getting you know, some of the better kids. You know, they've gone off somewhere, and we even after going to the regional, we got to this summer. It's like, Coach, I really want to get away from home. Well, okay, you know, best of luck. You can appreciate a kid having goals and desires and wants to go somewhere else. But I think what it's done is allowed some of the better kids in this area. We still may not get them over an Ohio State or Pitt or something like that, but that was the goal, was to be in the recruiting game with those kids that had that kind of talent, and I think we've kind of achieved that.